So we got some special guests in our studio. Of course, we got Dion Schaff. She is the district manager for the Soil Conservation District, and Kirk Klein, chairman and board of supervisors. So good morning, you guys.
Good morning.
So how was your New Year's? We got to ask about that for the celebration of 2013.
Well, mine was pretty uneventful. I think I fell asleep at 11 o'clock, so I couldn't even celebrate the New Year's, but it was pretty uneventful for me.
Yeah.
I sat home with my dad and my nephew watching old Will Rogers movies,
Oh,
so
nice.
how can you beat that?
That's a good way to bring it in. Yep. Yeah, I watched the ball drop, so had to watch that on the Dick Clark one. Well,
yeah.
In memory of Dick Clark.
Yep, that was pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, so it was, I pretty much stayed home too. I guess, I don't know. When we did that stuff in our younger years, we kind of went out and did that, I hope, anyway.
Are you saying we're old and boring?
Yeah, I did the same thing. I stayed indoors too, so.
It's too cold to go out.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, if it had been like now, it'd be pretty good. Right now, it's pretty nice, 25 degrees, so.
Yeah, it must have warmed up 20 degrees overnight, huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
That's crazy. Yep, yeah, and then it's going to start cooling off here pretty quick, but that's North Dakota for you, I guess. All right, so let's kick things off this Wednesday morning. Dion, did you want to start? And we got some living snow fences to talk about, some other stuff. What did you want to start this morning about?
Well, the first thing I wanted to bring up was that Governor Dalrymple has issued a proclamation that next week, January 6th to 12th, is Soil Health Week. There are some things going on that, if anybody's interested, there are 3 different workshops in Bismarck next week for Soil Health Week. On Monday the 7th, the North Dakota Grazing Lands Coalition is having a grazing workshop. On Tuesday the 8th, the Burleigh County Soil Conservation District is having a soil health workshop. And then on the 8th through the 10th, the Manitoba North Dakota Zero Tillage Farmers Association is having a workshop and trade show. So if you're interested at all in these things and in soil health, Bismarck is the place to be next week. So there's a whole lot going on. And if you need information, we have flyers on all 3 of these workshops in our office. So give us a call. We'll try and get those to you. So.
Alrighty, sounds good. And Kurt, did you want to? We were talking about Black Sunday and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'm just probably going to give you maybe a brief history lesson that maybe took place in the dirty 30s, the Dust Bowl days, and maybe our grandparents probably remember this. But the worst day that did take place during the Dust Bowl days took place on April 14th, 1935. And I guess if you'd ever want to remember that date, that's the same day that the Titanic. And then I really remember it well because it's my anniversary, so I can't forget that date. So if they ever bring up the anniversary of Titanic, maybe you can remember what happened on Black Sunday. But it started in North Dakota that morning, and it was actually Palm Sunday. And it was a really, really nice day, people getting ready to go to church and stuff. And all of a sudden, it started getting dark, and the temperature actually dropped 30 degrees by mid-morning. And wind blowing, soil slid down through North Dakota, down into South Dakota, and then kept on going. And it hit Kansas, and they said by the time it hit Kansas, if you can imagine this, it was 200 miles wide, and the front edge of it appeared 2,000 feet high. So we talk about blizzards in North Dakota, but I think I'd rather be in a blizzard than in a dirt storm like this. And it carried so much static electricity that the cars actually stalled that were trying to get out of the way of this. And by 8 o'clock, that night, so in a 12-hour period, it had already reached the Texas Panhandle and had gone through 5 different states. And to just imagine how bad this really was, prior to Black Sunday, there had been 49 dusters before Black Sunday. So it was almost probably an every other day occurrence where the people were fighting these dust storms. And farmers had a diet of canned rabbit and pickled tumbleweed, if you can imagine eating that. So there were thousands of people with respiratory problems, people going blind from all the blowing snow, and cattle actually losing their hair from all this dust blowing. And people were struggling to stay alive and find enough money for food and clothes. And what happened virtually went unnoticed at first. People didn't really wonder why is all this dust coming about, but there was a man by the name of Hugh Bennett. He was starting to warn people. See, back then, government continued to promote soil as the one resource that could not be exhausted. So they encouraged farmers to plow every acre they had. And there was some 40 million acres of grassland that were plowed up. And all of a sudden you have all these 40 million acres of grassland that's plowed up and it's black, and then you get a drought and nothing growing, and then you get the wind and the dry weather. So he tried to start Operation Dust Bowl in order to get the public informed about what was happening on the country. 5 days after this Black Sunday, he happened to be in Washington, D.C. testifying in a bunch of some senators. And the senators really didn't want to even listen to what he had to say because he was promoting conservation, and he was telling them it takes, if you lose an inch of topsoil, it takes 500 years to reproduce it. And they were just ignoring him, basically. And all of a sudden, this is Washington, D.C., while he was talking, it started getting dark. And the dirt that came down from North Dakota to Texas moved its way across the nation over to the East Coast and hit Washington, D.C. And while he was testifying to these senators, they finally personally witnessed this dust storm. And believe it or not, because of that tragedy, he got money, and he started the Soil Conservation Act, and then from there, the Soil Conservation Districts were formed. So it's kind of strange why we need a disaster in order to get something done in Washington, D.C. But we've come a long way since the dirty 30s, and I think it's important that we don't go backwards. And, our air and water is probably cleaner now than what it was 20 years ago, and hopefully we don't go back to that. But modern day scenario, just in our county alone, all the trees being taken out, and fence lines taken out, quarter lines, section lines, pastures being broke up. We're just getting more and more cropland all the time. We do have no-till, but just remember, in Texas, long-time no-till fields were blowing last summer because of the drought. So I guess it's important that we strive to become better stewards of the land and have as our goal to leave this earth in better shape than what we came.
Now, do you, because, the farming practices are better than what they were back then, but do you see that happening again with, because a lot more CRPs coming out, too? And we're getting a lot more, like you said, we're getting a lot more farmlands.
Well, yeah, a lot more farmland. And then, before, it used to be 80 acres or 160-acre fields. There's 1,000-acre fields out there.
Yeah.
And if this drought keeps on moving north and there's nothing growing on these huge fields, we're prone to have a dust storm.
Yeah, it's hopefully nothing as serious as that was, because that was pretty intense that back in the 30s.
Well, they talk about Hurricane Sandy and how bad that was, and don't get me wrong, that was bad, but Hurricane Sandy doesn't even parallel to what this dust storms is. And I just quick mention, if any readers out there is a really, really good book. It's called The Worst Hard Times by Timothy Egan that explains this whole situation. And Prairie Public Television has had two-hour specials on this same situation. I think you'd probably have to go on your computer to find it now, but I guess that was really, really good documentary.
If you go to, I think it's www.pbs.org, and there are some tabs across the top, and there's one there, I forget the exact title, but it's basically for viewing shows, and if you click on that, you will find there's two separate files there, the first night's show and the second night's show, and you can find it there online.
Okay. Alrighty, sounds good. And then we also got Don Olds joining us this morning. Don, good morning. How's it going?
It's going well. Good morning to everyone. Happy New Year.
How was your New Year, Don? We talked about it. So what'd you end up doing for the New Year?
Same as you all. I stayed home. I don't think I even saw the ball drop, to tell you the truth. I think I slept through it like I normally do.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate what Dion was talking about a little bit on the governor's proclamation of Soil Health Week. He does recognize the vital importance to the health and well-being and the sustainability of the people of North Dakota and the quality of life. And other than that, he recognizes the value of our soil, and that's one of the things we can do with that is for soil health. One of the things we're finding out there is the use of cover crops in our rotation to help hold the soil from blowing, to revitalize the soil and get the microbes back working again. And the only other thing I really have to add today is we're still taking conservation stewardship applications up through January 18th. So if you haven't gotten an application in for that program with NRCS, stop by the office, fill out an application. That's all I got for you this morning.
All right, and Don Olds, of course, the NRCS director. So thanks, Don, for joining us this new year on this Wednesday. Dion, what else did we want to? Did you have? You had some more stuff to add in there, right?
Well, in our last newsletter, we were talking about cover crops and drought, and if you'll indulge me, I'm just going to quick read that paragraph off so that point out a few things. Many have said that it was subsoil moisture from the previous year that got us through the dry weather in 2012. What to do if the coming year is also dry? Consider cover crops as one way to help conserve moisture. By covering the soil, they prevent water loss through evaporation. They can also increase water infiltration, ensuring that the rain that does fall is useful rather than running off. By using cover crops that winter kill or ensuring that they are terminated in a timely manner, the cover crop will contribute to the moisture available for cash crops rather than taking up water in the spring. They contribute to increasing the soil's organic matter, one of the most important changes we can make to improve soil health. At the same time, they can hold residual nitrogen and bring up nitrogen from deeper in the soil that might otherwise be leached away before the next planting, making it available for the next crop. They prevent dry soil from blowing. They also help to maintain the soil organisms which support the growth of future crops and which also improve the soil's ability to absorb water. A growing cover will do more for your soil's health and ability to grow future crops than residue alone. And you can see why I read that, because there's so much information crammed in there that there was no way I could discuss it in a reasonable amount of time. But that is in the newsletter, and there's more information available. The other thing I wanted to bring up was living snow fence. I'm sure most of you have heard of this. It's trees and shrubs planted to the north or west of a road that are intended to control snow deposition to help keep that road clear. What they can do is, of course, they prevent the large snowdrifts on the road, which keeps the road open. They improve the visibility, which decreases the number of accidents you're likely to have out there, help you to stay on the road and where you're going. And financially, it can make a big difference for the county and the townships by decreasing the amount of snow removal that you have to do out there. So they've pretty much concluded that the financial return for what you put into a living snow fence is more than worth it. So couple of things to remember when you're thinking about planning this is that if you put the living snow fence too close to the road, you're actually going to increase your problems rather than solving them, because of course what they do is they slow the wind down when it hits the trees and it drops the snow behind, and if you're too close to the road, you're dropping it on the road. So what they recommend is that the downwind row needs to be at least 100 feet from the road, and if you're doing multiples, the most windward row should be at least 200 feet from the edge of the road. So placement is really important with this. So if anybody's interested in doing this and in helping to keep their roads clear, please contact us, and we are very happy to help them try and plan and make this an effective procedure for them.
All right, sounds good. Well, anything else you want to add this morning? Don, we'll start with you if you want to add something this morning.
Well, I'll just add one thing into that from the living snow fence. A lot of times these living snow fence areas would be eligible if the land is currently cropland or has a cropping history. A lot of times these living snow fences can be eligible for CRP and be cost shared through that program as well as through the Forest Service. But a lot of times they'll be eligible for CRP, which means that you will get a yearly rental rate on that living snow fence acreage that you put in too. So that helps defray any cost to the producer who wants to put it in. So I'd encourage township officers or anybody like that are out there this year to look at the areas where the snow is on the roads and that, because it'll reduce your snow removal costs over time.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much, Don. That's Don Olds, the NRCS director. Kurt, anything else you want to add this morning?
Vikings and Packers. What do you think?
I got to go for the Vikings. They're my team. So.
Okay. It's going to be a tough game. I don't know. They played really well on Sunday, but boy, Lambeau Field, and it's supposed to be cold too, so it might be a good game. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch, and you got to give Vikings credit. They did really well on Sunday to get them into the playoffs. So. Yeah. It should be a good one. All right, thanks, Kurt Klein. Kurt Klein, of course, is the chairman and Soil Conservation District Board of Supervisors. Dion, anything else to add this morning?
Oh, just like I said, if there's anything we can help you with, please give us a call or come in. We are online now, so you can also check there. And we'll be happy to give you a hand anytime we can.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for stopping by. We'll see you again the first Wednesday of February. So, all right, have a happy new year, and thanks so much. That's Dion Schaaf.